Hi, welcome to Vocero Hispano. Today I have Steve Grumm, the Director of Community Engagement of Legal Aid of Western Michigan. Today we're going to be speaking about an expungement fair that is coming up, and then a little bit more about what Legal Aid of Western Michigan does in general. They are a nonprofit law firm that helps people who can't afford an attorney but experience legal problems that impact their day-to-day lives. Steve, thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
Thanks so much, Edith. I'm delighted to be here. Doing pretty well, thank you.
That's
and
good.
Very excited about all the expungement work we're going to talk about.
We're happy to have you here and happy to learn a little bit more about what the fair is about.
Great, thank you.
Could you start off by telling us a little bit more of what Legal Aid does and what your position is in there?
Sure. So your introduction was great. We're a nonprofit law firm, and our goal is to provide high-quality, free legal help to people on civil, so non-criminal matters. A lot of people come to us when they have problems with housing. They may be facing evictions or foreclosures. People come to us with family law issues. We work with people who are survivors of domestic abuse and help them and maybe their children to get safe. We do a lot of work with seniors who might be facing some kind of a consumer scam or a financial insecurity question. And especially with the passage of the new expungement laws that were implemented last year, to start with, we are doing a lot more expungement work now.
Okay. What does that, it's called the Clean Slate Pathway Program.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot of confusing words.
Yeah.
So right, so we as Legal Aid are rolling out a new project called Clean Slate Pathway. This is due in large part to a very generous grant we got from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation last year. So this year we're going to roll out Pathway. And what we wanted to do was, we can provide the legal services for expungement. That's where our expertise lie. But we realized that a lot of awareness needed to be builded about expungement or built. And mainly, one of the things that jumped out at me there was that we came across a statistic where among Michiganders who were eligible to have a conviction expunged, only 6.5%, so 7 in 100 people, were getting that expungement within 5 years of being eligible. So we said, okay, we need some awareness building, then we can do the legal services. And then, of course, there's a third part where there's a reason people are getting the expungements. It's not just to get a stamp on a piece of paper. It's because it helps people to get jobs, to access better housing. It can help people to do more volunteerism with their kids' schools. There's a lot of benefit that comes with removing that past shadow from someone's record, right?
Yeah.
And so what we thought we'd do is roll out Pathway as a partnership project. We wanted to have other nonprofit partners work with us on the awareness building and in supporting people once they get the expungements. And there's a whole lot of partners working with us, but the core partners that we've started with are the NAACP of Greater Grand Rapids, the Hispanic Center of Western Michigan, the Kent County Essential Needs Task Force, the Kent District Library, and West Michigan Works.
Okay, all great organizations.
Yeah, terrific partners.
What kind of charges do you believe could be, not all, but just some briefly that maybe somebody could probably has it and they want to learn more about the expungement?
Sure, yeah. So the new laws are being implemented really in two phases. Last year, the first set of laws was implemented. And what this did is it expanded the kinds of convictions that are expungement eligible. And it also changed some of the processes and the waiting periods for people for how these work. And so now, in someone's lifetime, they can have expunged any number, an unlimited number of misdemeanor convictions and up to 3 felony convictions on the state level. I should say that this doesn't deal with federal convictions. This is just state level criminal activity and convictions, right? So unlimited misdemeanors up to 3 felonies. And then the waiting periods for those are generally 3 years for misdemeanors, 5 years for convictions that refer to serious misdemeanors and some felonies, and then there's a 7-year period for more serious felonies. And there are some exceptions here. There are some kinds of convictions that are not expungible, but this law did a ton to expand them. And then next year, or rather starting maybe this year, but into next year, they're going to start doing automatic expungements, which means that people should not necessarily have to go through the whole legal process for things to be expunged. After a set period of time, the conviction should expunge itself.
Okay, but you said that every charge is kind of different, right? The waiting process is different for each one.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And our goal is to walk people through that thicket of new laws. You know, the upside is that a lot more is expungible. The downside is that, and we know this, it's pretty confusing, and that's where we come in.
Yeah. We know that there's an expungement fair coming up, and that's on May 7th in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Can you tell me about what people could expect at that fair?
Yeah, so the first thing I'll say is that pre-registration is required.
Okay.
So folks should pre-register, and we've been sending around a flyer. They could go to any of our partner organizations or contact us to pre-register for that. But on Saturday, May 7th, we're working with our core partners and a handful of other partner organizations to do two things. We'll have an expungement fair. That's where people who've pre-registered with us can come. They can meet with a volunteer lawyer who will have trained, and we'll be there also. And that lawyer is going to sit down with them and walk through the expungement application. We're also going to get people free fingerprints. And our goal there is to really get them set to turn in that application for an expungement.
Okay.
We're also going to, and West Michigan Works has been helping us coordinate this, do a job fair. So there will be some employers and some career support organizations on hand for people as well.
Okay. Is there any help given to them? I'm speaking of like translations, language barriers. Do you guys have any Spanish-speaking people that will probably be there?
Yeah, the Hispanic Center is going to be there for sure, and we'll probably have some Spanish-speaking folks on staff there, but we would be able to accommodate Spanish-speaking language needs for sure.
Okay, and the event is free?
Yeah.
For anyone
Free.
to come? Okay.
And the lawyer's free too.
Okay.
Yep. As long as they register beforehand.
Okay.
Yep.
And you said that they're just going to be meeting up with an attorney, just looking more through whether they qualify for it or not?
Yeah, that's what we'll be able to print out criminal records beforehand, and we'll be able, that's why we need people to pre-apply.
Okay.
And then we'll know what's expungible, what's not, what kind of news we have to give people, and how we need to explain things.
Okay.
And then for folks who have expungible offenses, they're going to go right to sit down with that lawyer, and they're going to fill out the expungement application.
Okay.
And so then they should be ready to go. We're also very fortunate that in part that Kellogg grant and some of our partners have allowed for funding to help people with some of the expenses that come with the filing for the expungement application too. So we're going to do all we can there to help people out to limit the cost.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Do they have to bring any documents with them the day of the fair?
We'll get in touch with them, and it's going to depend on our work beforehand to verify their criminal records or conviction records. And so then we'll know what to tell them to bring. Okay. But generally, the folks who've pre-registered, we'll get in touch with them, we'll do what we need to do, and then we'll have them set to come in that day, and they're probably not going to need to do too much.
Okay. And can that person be accompanied by somebody? I know that maybe these type of fairs, like, you know, talking about somebody's past criminal record, it can be a little intimidating. So can they bring somebody with them?
It sure can, and yes, they sure can.
Okay,
yep.
That's good to know. And going back to the expungement or the Clean Slate Pathway program, have you seen any similar cases in the past? There's like a charge that you're seeing that is very familiar or very frequent that you're probably thinking maybe this should be out of the way. Have you seen some similarities with some people?
Yeah, and there is no typical case, and it's important to emphasize that you know, folks who have had something on their record for a while now, and a lot of times this is just a past mistake that someone made when they were a lot younger. Okay. And so, you know, maybe one example, Edith, would be that we've run into clients who are seniors or older on in life, and they did something 20 years ago, and they've been thinking that they're just stuck with that, and that could potentially show up in a background check for a job or for a housing application, and they haven't done much with it. And these new laws have brought about a little more awareness about the fact that they could have it expunged, and they've contacted us and said, You know, some people will need it for a job. They want to get a certification and they need to have the conviction wiped away to do that. Some people have just called us and said, listen, I've been embarrassed about this for 20 years and I'm embarrassed about it with my family. They don't know about this. I just want to have it wiped away so that shadow is not looming over me anymore. So it might be a very specific reason like getting a job or applying for housing, but it could just be that someone doesn't want to keep feeling like they're being punished for a mistake they made years ago.
Okay. Is marijuana one of those charges that could be removed?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Marijuana convictions can be expunged. And in fact, there's a special provision which deals with the change they made in marijuana enforcement laws. And now some things that used to be criminal offenses a few years ago are no longer illegal now.
Okay.
And so there's a way to deal with that too.
Okay. I'm not sure if you have like the specific details for that specific charge, but for those people that have those certain charges of marijuana, do they have to wait a longer time afterwards, or
No.
since it's legal already, is that more beneficial for them?
It just has to do with the classification of crime,
Okay.
like misdemeanor or felony and there. And so that would answer that question there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then does it go away publicly? And I know you mentioned there's a state and a federal level. So once they do that expungement, does it clear from the record just in Michigan, but not federally?
What I meant there is that federal convictions, so if someone goes to federal court and they're a
Okay.
defendant in a federal criminal case, those are not currently expungible. But things, and the vast majority of criminal prosecutions happen in state courts.
Okay.
And so all the convictions that happen in the state courts are the ones that we're really talking about with these clean slate laws and the new expungement laws.
Okay.
And so the way that letting alone the federal issues with any kind of state offenses, that's where the gap is a lot wider now for what people can have expunged.
Okay. I just had that question due to like if a Hispanic person, for example, they're applying for something that has to do with immigration, and immigration checks their records and all their background. So with this expungement, if they do a clean slate for their record, is that record shown, or can immigration see that record, or is it gone completely?
I'm going to give you a lawyer's answer.
Okay.
It would depend, and I don't know. I would need to be dealing with an individual case to answer that, so I'm not entirely sure. One thing I will say generally, Edith, is that expungement doesn't mean that it disappears.
Okay.
But it does mean that for most legal purposes, that conviction is, in lawyers' terms, set aside.
Okay.
So that it should not show up anymore in most basic background checks.
Okay.
And that's why I mentioned before that, especially with job applications and housing applications, that's where you're going to see some of the benefit. Does it fully disappear? No. Just like nowadays, nothing really disappears fully. But it's going to benefit people in a lot of circumstances by not showing up in places where it may have before.
Okay. And just for the Expungement Fair, what is the link that people can go to register if they're interested in going?
Sure. They can go right to our website or they can call us. So they can go to our website at www.lawestmi.org.
Okay. And then there's where all the information is for pre-registering. Any further questions that they may have, that would be the link to go to.
Yep.
Okay, that's good to know. Is there anything else that you would like the community to know regarding the Clean Slate Pathway project or the fair?
Other than to say thank you for helping us spread the word, no, but folks should always feel free to get in touch with Legal Aid of Western Michigan if they've got questions about expungements.
And just quickly, what else is something that Legal Aid can help with along with the Clean Slate Pathway project?
Sure. So a lot of folks have come when they've been applying, for example, for public housing, or they've been going through the process of trying to get a mortgage, and they run into an issue where they have this housing question or problem on one hand, and maybe the fact of having a criminal conviction is related to that. So we can sometimes help with housing problems and expungements at one time.
Okay. So for those that are interested in attending the Expungement Fair that is happening on May 7th, that is going to occur on Madison Avenue. It's 1530 Madison Avenue Southeast. That is the Grand Rapids Center for Community Transformation. The Expungement Fair is taking place from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Is that correct?
Got it.
Yeah. And there will be attorneys, there will be translation services for those to help communicate between an attorney and what they're trying to explain. There is pre-registration required. We will be leaving the link on our description of this interview, and as well as the phone number. So thank you for being here. I really do hope that this Expungement Fair is going to be successful. I'm pretty sure it will be. It's a great opportunity. There will be a job fair as well, as you mentioned, of West Michigan Works. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Edith. I appreciate it.
Okay, and thank you for joining us here with this interview. To see more interviews in English and Spanish, you can visit us on YouTube at Vocero Hispano TV, on our Facebook page where we're constantly uploading our interviews, and our website at vocerous.com. Thank you.